Hello, everyone. Happy Sunday. How is everyone doing? Are you feeling very spaced out, dreamy, tired, meditative, psychic? That's kind of how I'm feeling right now. And like I said in the Discord, I do think that is because Neptune is slowed way, way down, preparing to go direct on the 1st, which is Wednesday. So there's a lot to talk about. We have a solar eclipse coming up on Friday or Saturday, depending on where you are. For Pacific time people, it's going to be 11:43 p.m. on the 3rd. And for Eastern time people, it will be 2:43 a.m. on the 4th. So, oh my gosh, as if the first wormhole wasn't enough. I mean, it was pretty great, honestly, but we're going into another one for sure. I definitely feel a lot was kicked up the first time for sure, but it's like different somehow. It feels more direct. It feels more aggressive. It feels more Sagittarius. It's like we're pointed towards something and we have like a certain end goal in sight. I'm not even really sure what that end goal is, but it feels like the energy is like pushing through like the arrow. You know what I mean? Okay, so let's just look at the current chart right now. Right now, the moon is in Virgo, just right on top of my moon in Virgo. Oh, this is the eclipse one. So I know I've talked about this before, but how do you guys feel when the moon is over your moon? For me, it's either like the best thing ever and it feels wonderful, or I'm dying of anxiety. So I actually just feel very Neptunian right now. Feel very out of it. Okay. Here we are. I can technology. Okay. So this is right now. It's about, oh, this is not even set to, oh no, it is. What time is it? Okay. Well, so this is set to Central Time. This is about where we are right now here, Midwest, Chicagoland, Tornado Land. All right, so what do we have going on right now? Right now, just looking at my notes here. The sun is conjunct Mercury. Yeah, so Vesta's in between there as well. The sun is conjunct Mercury. We always have this sun-Mercury dance going on. Mercury is never too far from the sun. So tomorrow, Mars is actually going to trine Neptune. Now, like I said, Neptune is very, very important. So you can see they're pretty close here. Mars is at 19 degrees, 52 minutes of Scorpio, and Neptune is at 20 degrees, 24 minutes of Pisces. It is still in retrograde. So like I said, Neptune is going to be really important right now, and Neptune is busy this week, leading up to and even after Neptune officially goes direct. Now, when we have planets in retrograde and they are about to go retrograde or they're about to go direct, what happens, of course, as they switch directions is they stay very, very still in the sky. And once they are stationary, they're literally not moving at all because of the way that the orbits line up. So when that happens, the energy of that planet becomes like overwhelmingly intense. So what is like overwhelming Neptune energy? That is psychic visions, dreams, mysticism, spirituality, just being very, very, very in tune with energy, with past lives, with, you know, like basically reality is being dissolved when this happens. That's what Neptune does. Neptune dissolves Saturn's boundaries, basically, and can expand beyond them forever. So everything that we know as reality kind of ceases to exist. It's very easy to see beyond the veils, beyond the physical reality when Neptune is still. Now, the unconscious side of that would be delusions, thinking things are reality when they're not reality, not wanting to face reality at all. It's normal to feel very tired, to feel very just lethargic, because if you think about Pisces and Neptune in the 12th house, even, it's the energy of letting go. I always see the 12th house as like the last breath that you, oh my gosh. I'm having like a that's so Raven moment. Okay, so I always think of it as the last breath that you take before you die. Now, this is interesting because I've been reading about Oya, who is a Santeria Orisha. I hope I said that right. Basically a goddess, but they call them Orishas. So with Oya, she actually rules over the last breath that you take before you go into death, before you die and go into the final change and transformation. She rules over change, lightning, quick emotions, quick tempers, that like I see it as very like air, like tornado, cyclone kind of energy that change like atmosphere. That's kind of what Oya rules over. So it is interesting. You know, I've never read about her until recently. So I do think that there's some kind of like, there's something with that, you know. All right, so this is the 28th. Let's go to the 29th, the next day when Mars will officially trine Neptune. It will be a bit later in the day, though it's showing here. So Mars in Scorpio trining Neptune, that's just going to put us deeper into that dream state. It'll put us deeper maybe into our illusions and delusions, but also maybe into our fantasies, imagination. It can be creativity. Creativity is more mental, it's Libra, but it can be creativity in the spirit realms and like energetically. I've noticed that a lot of people with strong 12th house placements, not everybody, but a lot of people with strong 12th house placements, it's not always the vision. It's actually more often than not like an empathic ability that they have, like a feeling, like they can sense it, they can feel it, because it's Pisces, it's the 12th house. There's no separation between us and them. It's all that oneness, that invisible thread that connects everything together. On the same day, we will also have Mercury in Sagittarius trining Chiron over here. So we're also being confronted with our pain wounds, with things that we need to heal. Of course, right? It's eclipse season. That stuff is for sure going to get kicked up. It's difficult when Neptune is involved because we don't really know what's real and what's not real. Or if we think that it's real, isn't it already real? Or is it what's real, what's not? It's all very foggy and confusing. And Mercury being involved here too, especially with Chiron, it can be very painful and uncomfortable, but there's definitely healing taking place. And that's what we forget about Neptune also, is that Neptune is like a massive healing planet. So we can heal these things within ourselves. And also later that night, Mercury will sextile Saturn. So Mercury and Saturn. So it is interesting. Whatever we're healing, it's coming into reality. There's definitely this like creating reality with Saturn, and then the dissolving of reality. And both of those things will be like in our hands. Like we're able to do that. I'm seeing like the Temperance card, like pouring the water in. Are you pouring the water in, or are you funneling it up towards? I don't know. Maybe a really hard time putting the words together. I know you know what I mean. It's just like which is which. What is really happening here? Okay. So on that's on the 29th. I apologize. So on the 30th, Neptune will go direct on the 1st, and that's going to happen not too early in the morning, pretty early, between like 5 and 8 p.m., depending on where you are in the US. I'm sorry, I don't have the times for the other countries. So on the 30th, the sun will trine Chiron, Venus will sextile Neptune. So again, Neptune here, and the sun will sextile Saturn. There's this dance, you know, with astrology, there is a song. It's a song that we can't hear, at least not all of us. It's a song that we can't hear, but it's a song that we can feel. And there's something happening with reality and non-reality. There's something happening with weaving in the spirit realms, weaving in different timelines, but also being able to break those things and dissolve them in a very like spiritual way, emotional way, energetic way. So we're definitely doing some kind of work here with reality. And I think honestly, the power is in our hands to do what we want to do with that. You're probably already having visions from the past, because that's kind of what Neptune does. And just kind of realize what is connecting those things together? What is the feeling that is drawing those things into this current reality? And do those things need to be dissolved? Do they need to be put away? On the first, there is Neptune. You can see the S stands for stationary. So completely still in the sky. Now, this is important because once we get to the actual eclipse, it's going to have a whole Neptune flavor. We're going to have amazing visions. Our third eye will be open. It's more than that, though. We're really being connected to all kinds of dimensions and portals and things. We have open access. It's not just getting shot through the wormhole, I would say, like the lunar eclipse. It's more so of like having all of these, like I'm just seeing a web, having all of these openings, having access to all of these things at once. So it's not just one wormhole, it's like all this like spider web of different things that will be connected to. So the moon is going to go into Scorpio, and that will lead us to the eclipse. So I'm going to get out of this for a second. So like I said, the eclipse is either on the 3rd or the 4th for you US people. Let me get this open here. Wow, I've just been so tired with this Neptune energy, just like laying around and like doing a little bit of art, and then I'm like, oh, I'm just gonna lay here for a while. I just don't have any motivation at all, which is weird. I can at least like use my anxiety to get me there. That's not healthy, but that's like a Virgo thing here. But I'm not able to do that right now. So this is the chart for the eclipse. 12 degrees, 22 minutes of Sagittarius. So off the astrology record here, astrology, what is it about astrology? So there are rules, of course, the Saturn, right? We need the structure of astrology. There are certain aspect patterns. There are certain meanings for the degrees, blah, blah, blah. But I'm going to go Uranus on this and say that there is so much more beyond that. And I like to read the sacred geometry beyond like the textbook geometry. I like to look at the numbers because I believe that the numbers, even beyond numerology, they're just telling us something. And that's kind of where like the intuitive Uranian part of astrology comes in. So when I look at this, I see the 22 minutes of Sagittarius. In numerology, 22 is a master number. So I really do think that we're solidifying things from the past, right? We still have the South Node in Sagittarius. And what's interesting also, on the time of the eclipse, Venus in Capricorn is going to be septile the South Node. I know it's hard to see, but that pink line right there is the septile. So I really think we're stepping into self-mastery with things that we've learned from the South Node. The South Node is not bad. It can just seem that way because we take whatever that sign is and that energy represents, and we bring it into excess. We overdo it. You know, Sagittarius in excess is no fun. Just being super set in our belief systems, ideological traps, speaking our truths to the point where we're not listening to other people's truths and like we're like, what I believe in is right and that's it, and like defending that. I don't know if any of you guys do that. I'm just saying with my Sagittarius rising, I definitely do that, and that is what South Node Sagittarius can be. But I think with Venus coming in here too, we're definitely tying up these lessons. Like we're going to be moving into the Scorpio Taurus axis with the lunar nodes. So I think with the South Node and with the septile, we're really like anchoring in the goodness. The South Node is also all the good qualities of that sign too. It's easy to forget that. But we're supposed to take like the very best of that sign, you know, which in the case of Sagittarius, it's just being bold and confident and adventurous and being an explorer and staying strong in our beliefs, no matter what everybody else believes, like being very strong in what you believe and like being okay with that. And also a big thing with this is like being okay with being lonely too. Like that is so necessary. Like you have to be okay with walking the path by yourself sometimes. And, you know, Gemini is so social. It's about the community. It's about connecting the community together and like interacting just a little bit with each person. But the good side of Sagittarius would be being an independent leader and being okay to like walk away from the pack sometimes and like be that shaman who lives on the edge of the town, you know? All right. The solar eclipse, the new moon solar eclipse in Sagittarius is happening, like I said, 12 degrees, 22 minutes Sagittarius. So the exact times, it's at 11:43 p.m. Pacific time, 1:43 a.m. Central time, and 2:43 a.m. Eastern time. Before the moon starts doing its thing, the sun is going to quincunx Uranus. So there's already this frustration. There's some kind of tension with the realizations that we're having. I'm just going to go ahead and guess and say that the things that we're realizing are uncomfortable things. I'm kind of already in that place right now, realizing things about the past, South Node, that we don't really want to look at too much because it's unpleasant, but there's information in there too. There's information in the darker places that we've been, the more difficult realizations, the hardships. That's kind of where I feel the realizations will be coming from. The moon in Sagittarius leading up to the actual alignment will trine Chiron, right? Healing our soul wounds, having our soul wounds revealed to us. Sextile Saturn, solidifying that into reality if we do that inner work, if we heal ourselves. And then the moon will also quincunx Uranus. So we're feeling very like uncomfortable, I would say, leading up. Again, realizing things that we don't really want to look at, bringing up people, places, things, threads from the past that need to be dissolved. And then we will come up to the actual eclipse, which is what you see here. So what else is going on? There's a lot happening. By this point, Neptune will be technically direct, but as you can see, it hasn't moved at all. It's just staying very, very still in the sky. It's going to take a while to gain some momentum. Venus in Capricorn, septile the North Node, we already talked about that. Mercury in Sagittarius will be opposite Black Moon Lilith. 15 degrees, 13 minutes, 15 degrees, 23 minutes here. So I'm just going to read what I wrote as I was writing out like the aspects that will be relevant. I put for this one, the Mercury opposite Black Moon Lilith, wanting to say what needs to be said, but feeling tense and receiving pushback from others whose power is suppressed. That's the feeling that I got from this. Like we want to put our truth out there and we probably will. I mean, look at all this stuff we have going on in Sagittarius, but you're going to really be seeing like the dark side of others, I think, and receiving some kind of like pushback from others when they haven't dove into their own darkness and their own Lilith, or you know, they've given their power away and on some level they're aware of that, but they don't want to face it. But that stuff is really going to be getting kicked up, I think, this solar eclipse. So even if people are, you know, arguing with you or whatever, put your truth out there, just keep doing it because it does help them. It helps them be able to face their own truth, I think. So even if it makes them uncomfortable, just the fact that you're doing it and putting it out there, even if people don't agree, it is like helping in a way. It's helping reality. Also, Neptune is going to sextile White Moon Selena. So here's White Moon Selena in Capricorn and Neptune down here. White Moon Selena is doing quite a bit as well for this eclipse. So, you know, I've been really diving into White Moon Selena and trying to like understand what that point really does in the chart. And really the thing that it means to me is just wanting to use your experiences to help others, like for real. With Neptune involved, it's like spiritually helping others. It literally is lighting the way, wanting to use your pain, wanting to use your Black Moon Lilith moments of having your power taken away, of experiencing oppression, abuse, having to flee situations that were really difficult or painful or harmful, using all of the wisdom you've gained from that and wanting to give that wisdom to others by teaching them. That's how I see it anyway. So that's something that will be relevant as well. The energy is definitely different. The last lunar eclipse, it was like so beautiful and so powerful. And it's not that this one won't be, but I think it's so hard to put into words. It just feels Neptune mystical, but it also feels Sagittarius pointed towards something. Yeah, I'm having a really hard time finding the words today. I apologize. As Saturn creeps closer and closer towards my Saturn, which is in the third house of communication, I'm finding the words less and less and less. All right. I will go more in depth into this chart actually on the live that I will do. I'm going to do it on would that make sense to do it on Thursday? Yes. I'm going to do it on Thursday. So you have Friday, Saturday, Sunday to do all of your magic, to do all of your preparation. You can do magic on the eclipse. Okay. Don't let anyone tell you that you can't. I mean, why wouldn't you also? I mean, honestly, for the lunar eclipse, I kept it pretty simple. Oh, interesting. So I'm pulling out my archetypes cards right now. And the bottom card is the Hunter with a black horse. I always associate horses with like Maca, one of the versions of the Morrigan. She's like a horse goddess. The Hunter. What does that mean to you though? Okay. I just feel that I should go from the bottom. Okay. The empty room. The empty room kind of looks like a gem too. And the Father. Uh-oh. I guess we could pull this one too. The Riddle. I keep seeing this, the symbol everywhere. It kind of looks like that Celtic Trinity symbol. Where is the book? I have no idea where that is. Is it under here? No. Okay. Well, that's okay. I'll just use my intuition. So the Hunter, the empty room, the Father, the Riddle. This is all heavy stuff. Okay, this is like no joke. This is not like love and light, rainbow butterfly kind of stuff. This is like, ooh. This is like, our subconscious creates rooms, it creates worlds, it creates almost like entrapments to protect ourselves from uncomfortable memories, trauma, parts of ourselves that we don't want to face. And that's the kind of stuff we're going into, I think, this week with the eclipse and otherwise. This is interesting because I do feel that all of us have been doing like some serious, deep inner work since all of this stuff happened. But it's almost like the container that you hid those things from yourself in, now that you've healed yourself, now that you've maybe retrieved your soul fragments, or you've just been doing that healing work, it's like the actual container needs to be dissolved and transmuted because it's still there and it still exists. And as difficult as it is, I think we need to like revisit those things that we've been working on. We need to revisit the actual container that we've created within our own darkness, our own subconscious, our own feminine energy. And like that itself needs to be dissolved because it's not needed anymore. You already know what those things are. You know what you need, what you've like the work that you've been doing. But I feel that all of those like protection layers, they can become very, very damaging. And just because you've faced those things within yourself doesn't mean that you can just leave those things in there. So, you know, in the light, in the sun version of this, it's like psychology really. And like all of those like defense mechanisms that we have in place to protect ourselves from certain things, from certain people, that stuff can become very, very damaging, and it can really like hold us back from a lot too. Obviously, the father wound is coming up for a lot of you. And the Riddle. See, the thing about, and notice how like, these are all very like, the father is like half dark and half color, but that's really the only color card that we have. The rest of them are pretty dark. The thing is, like when you travel in your own darkness in the subconscious, it's different than traveling into the dark realms. This is like a space where you hide things from yourself. And that's why I think a lot of us like fear the darkness for a long time, because you kind of have to go in blindfolded. You have to feel your way around, and you know you're going to encounter things that you just don't like. Sometimes demons, you know, are things that we create to actually protect ourselves from certain memories and certain things. We got to go in our darkness. We got to feel our way into that. You know, ask your guides for help. ask your spirits that you work with to assist you in going to those spaces, because even though you're healing, even though maybe you've extracted the root of whatever the problem was, you got to go back in there and start figuring out the mechanisms and the things that you've created to protect yourself that might be actually hurting you. It might be hurting people around you. It might be hurting your relationships, because a lot of time when we do stuff like this, we create all of these personality traits and things and defenses that keep other people out of our hearts, that keep people away from who we really are. And we don't allow ourselves to be vulnerable because it's threatening. And that's normal, right? That's like a normal thing to do when you've experienced trauma. But that's where I think the wound, we got to go back in and like do some untangling, is how I see it. And like, we need to like meet face to face these demons that we've created, these alter egos or whatever it is that basically we put in place to, again, protect ourselves from ourselves in a way. But then in doing and not undoing those things and unwinding it and untying it and transmuting it, we still might do those things. So like it's like on one hand we're healing, but then on the other hand we're still doing all of those things that we created a long time ago to protect us from the truth. So we got to bring those things together. We got to go back into those dark spaces and heal those things that are keeping other people from our hearts, that are preventing us from truly expressing ourselves and putting ourselves out there. I hope that makes sense. That's kind of what I'm feeling, that just because you're healing the actual trauma, the actual child self, doesn't mean that you don't have to go back in there and start figuring out I'm like seeing like pulling like threads out, like ripping these threads out, like, okay, I don't need this anymore. I don't need to do these things and like keep people away from my heart and stop people from seeing who I really am. It's time to like go in there, rip out the threads, heal it, transmute it, and like let your soul like shine through finally. Whoa, that's really powerful. I'm like really feeling that. So yeah, I hope that resonated. That's pretty much all I have. Like I said, I'll go deeper into the chart. Once we get into that like Sagittarius Neptune vibes, like the details just stop being appealing to me, honestly, which is saying a lot as somebody with Moon and Jupiter in Virgo. It's more of like the feeling, Okay. All right, so I will do the live on Thursday, December 2nd. I will let you know. I'm going to do it at 6 p.m. I just like to do it at that time. You can, when I put the link in the Discord or on the Patreon, you can watch it whenever. Okay, let me know if this resonates with you at all, and I will see you on Thursday, the 2nd. All right, bye.